Hello, and we're back with the game between InsertName and HerziQuerzi. InsertName is on Infuse combo with Rini, or as I like to call it, RiniFuse. The deck is a combo deck that runs a bunch of cantrips and self-mill in order to rip through a deck and fill up the graveyard for either Infuse Apparatus or Rini Sundial or Cleric. Infuse Apparatus lets you recast all of your spells from your graveyard, which allows you to draw even more cards and keep digging through a deck. And Restot's command, the first and second mode of Restot's command, can insta-kill someone from out of nowhere if you draw enough cards. And notably, if you discard command, you can recast it for free off Infuse. And if that plan doesn't work, you also have Rini Sundial or Cleric, which you can discount super quickly, and then you can just drop a 2-mana Rini and then follow it up with some cantrips, and a lot of decks just can't come back from a bunch of Sarah Angels beating them down. HerziQuerzi is running Tropic Thunder, as always. It's a control-ish deck that runs some cards that care about the number of cards with the same name in your graveyard, and you can use Spirit Script with that, which will become a copy of those cards so you can count extra copies of the cards for their effects. And then you also run Bounty of Gardens plus Cane Dancer. Cane Dancer's flashing back Bounty of the Gardens is always a really strong combo. And you also have Breach of Lilies, which also is a decent Cane Dancer impression. And then you also have Thunder Roads plus a 5-color mana base in order to enable it. And if you get Thunder Roads off, you can just wax someone for 9 or kill a bunch of stuff and gain a bunch of life. You can also reprise Echoing Knowledge onto Thunder Roads in order to draw a bunch of cards off that. The rest of the deck is just card draw and counter spells. InsertName has kept the hand with some cantrips, 2 discard spells, enough mana to do everything, and they've just top decked the Rini. They have a pretty good hand right now, and HerziQuerzi has kept the hand with a turn 2 counter spell followed by a Cane Dancer on that counter spell. So the game probably won't end anytime soon. HerziQuerzi plays their Shifting Land and cracks at end of turn for a blue source, and they've drawn another Shifting Land, and I'm assuming they're going to play that and hold up the Diffuse. Meanwhile, InsertName has used Gift of the Phoenix to discard Corrupt Memory and draw 2 cards. And now, oh no, HerziQuerzi is tapping out for Unceasing Flames this turn instead of holding up Diffuse, but I guess because Infuse can't really combo off on turn 2, so HerziQuerzi probably feels pretty safe about going for this play right now. InsertName untaps and draws more cantrips. And they're just going to, well, so right now they're probably thinking about what to do here. So they do want to eventually run out the Corrupt Memory or to hit any counter spells that HerziQuerzi has. But meanwhile, they also want to play out their cantrips and self-mill in order to either dig for Infuse or reduce its cost. So right now they have 2 spells in graveyard. So if they played out of the land this turn and played 2 cantrips, then they would very likely be able to get 5 spells in yard for 2 mana Rini next turn. And then next turn they can play out another land, use Corrupt Memory to clear out any counter spells and then drop the Rini. But then the problem is that they're going to let the opponent untap with the Rini. With no way to protect the Rini. So instead, InsertName is going for Artie's Invocation. And does that get them to Rini mana? Well, not yet, but after a Weaver Trap or a Monkey Shines or a Oracle Fortune, then yeah. So they're just going to go for the turn 2 Rini. And that's actually a pretty good play here because HerziQuerzi doesn't really have anything in their hand that can deal with the Rini right now. And looking at their deck, they don't actually have any way to kill Rini at 2 mana, or at least kill Rini with a single card. The only way of killing Rini at this point would be to use 2 removal or 2 burn spells on it. So yeah, InsertName feels pretty safe about running after Rini, and HerziQuerzi has absolutely no way to turn faster and concede instantly. That was a really fast game 1. So for sideboarding, HerziQuerzi is boarding all of their counter spells, so negate, cosmic synchro, redo, probably. Yeah, redo hits Infuse and Rini super hard because they're both spells that get cost reduced, and redo cares about its original cost. They might board an out-of-body experience to kill Rini too. So they're probably bringing in almost an entire board here. But meanwhile, InsertName probably wants to bring in more Rinis because Herzi's deck doesn't have an easy way to deal with Rinis. But I guess most board they have the out-of-bodies. They also want to bring in more correct memories to deal with the counter spells, and then probably cosmic synchro and stolen secrets for counter spell 8-2. And both players are back for game 2. Herzi gets a hand with some counter spells, I guess. Alone cosmic synchro, and they're just gonna keep it. But meanwhile, InsertName gets a hand with a land, a lot of cantrips, and a discard spell. And I think they're also going to keep this because that's a pretty ideal hand for Infuse. So Herzi is going to run out their land and pass the turn, holding up cosmic synchro. Meanwhile, InsertName is probably going to use their cantrips to dig for a land, but I guess they top deck the land anyways, so that's pretty good for them. And what cantrip does InsertName lead out with? And they're going to lead with Oracle's Vision, which also mills Herzi, which might actually mill them into Cane Dancer targets, but this time Oracle's Vision didn't help Herzi. Meanwhile, InsertName has milled 2 spells, so they're up to 3 spells in yard already. And Herzi plays a land, passes the turn, holding up Cosmic Synchro on 2. And InsertName draws a Rini, so this might just be a repeat of last game. Although they don't have the ritual, so they can't run out Rini this turn. But what they can do is play a land, play one of the looting effects, get 5 cards into the yard. Or actually, not even that, since they're playing 2 spells anyway. So yeah, they're going to lead out on discard spell, try to snag any counter spells that Herzi has, and clear the way for a Rini next turn. And Herzi is just going to let that correct memory resolve. I guess they're going to let InsertName take their counter spell, and then I guess they're planning on using Spirit Script end of turn to dig for some more counter spells. InsertName knows that Herzi is shields down right now. They're probably going to go for a Gift of the Phoenix, I think. And yeah, they use Gift of the Phoenix, discard the other Gift of Phoenix. I probably would have discarded Glimpse Beyond, because I guess they can Glimpse Beyond for... Okay, so InsertName draws RD's Invocation. So that's... Right, so InsertName can't actually cast Rini off their lands right now because Sanctuary only allows you to cast instants and sorceries off its mana. RD's Invocation allows you to turn Sanctuary mana into Rini mana. And so yeah, top decking Invocation there was extremely important for InsertName. Meanwhile, Herzi Spirit Scripts and finds a counter spell. So is InsertName going to play out Artie's Invocation this turn? They just go for it. They're just going to go for it this turn because they know that, well, they've seen Herzi's hand before, and for all they know, Herzi doesn't have any counter spells. But then again, Herzi also drew a bunch of cards. So Herzi has a single diffuse up that can try to stop anything that InsertName is doing. And the thing is, so after Artie's Invocation, they can play Rini and pay for a diffuse. So InsertName is probably going to play Artie's Invocation right now. And if Herzi wants to stop the Rini from coming down, they have to counter this with diffuse. And instead InsertName also tapped wrong. They should have tapped both their Sanctuaries for Invocation. That way they can use the Nebula plus the Invocation mana to pay for diffuse. But now that they tap like this is actually a huge misplay here, because now they can't pay for diffuse for Rini, and yeah, Herzi gets to fire off a diffuse on Rini, and actually A4. What? Oh yeah, Spirit Script, right? So yeah, that play didn't actually matter there because diffuse would have countered Rini anyways. So now the game is even again. Both players, InsertName has to dig for their combo again. Meanwhile, Herzi has to find another counter, or I guess, no, they can just use Cane Dancer to flashback diffuse. And that works with Spirit Script, right? yeah, so they can diffuse for 4 next turn off Cane Dancer. Meanwhile, InsertName has drawn to Infuse Apparatus, and I'm assuming that's what they're going to try to play next turn. What InsertName is probably hoping to draw next turn is Corrupt Memory or another discard spell in order to get any counter spells out of Herzi's hand. Herzi draws another Diffuse. So yeah, they have enough mana to Cane Dancer and Diffuse on the same turn. And if they don't need to use both counters, then they can just C-Cash. So Herzi is in a pretty good situation right now, but InsertName still might have a good chance to win because never underestimate what the Infuse deck can pull off. They're just going to lead off with their cantrips, I'm assuming, and try to find something to do. So milling 2 bounties, so that's more Cane Dancer targets. And they do draw the Corrupt Memory. Okay, that's great for them. So they're probably going to play a land, play Corrupt Memory, and see what Herzi has, and try to see if they can take a counter spell. But I guess the problem right now is that Herzi has 2 counter spells, so they can't. So InsertName can't force Infuse through with a single discard spell. InsertName can also try to look for a second Infuse in order to force it through the counter spells. So yeah, InsertName will just lead off with Corrupt Memory, and oh yeah, they're glitching it in order to take Cane Dancer. So Herzi just flash out the Cane Dancer right now, because if they do that, then that basically wastes the glitch mode of Corrupt Memory. And yeah, Herzi will just run out the Cane Dancer. No, they're gonna run out they're gonna play C-Cash and draw 3 cards. I guess they're hoping to find more counter spells, or I guess more Cane Dancers in this case. Yeah, because Herzi sees that InsertName has tapped down to 1 mana left, so they can't Infuse this turn. Or I think they didn't InsertName already play a land this turn. I think they did, right? So yeah, Herzi sees that it's impossible for InsertName to play Infuse this turn, so they're just gonna. So they don't actually have to keep up any counters now. So they're just gonna draw all the cards that they can, and now Herzi has more counter spells than Corrupt Memory can take. And InsertName is probably just going to take the Cane Dancer in order to not waste the mana they've spent glitching the Corrupt Memory. Now the game swings back massively in Herzi's favor because they get to untap with 4 mana and a handful of counter spells. Herzi draws even more counter spells. So right now, Herzi has, yeah, they have enough mana for Thunder Roads Augmented, and I think they're just gonna pass a turn holding up counter spells plus Thunder Roads end of turn if they don't have to counter 2 things, and that should end the game in pretty short order. Meanwhile, InsertName is in huge trouble. They drew another land, and now they don't really have any way to dig. And they know that running out Infuse Apparatus right now does nothing because it's just going to get countered. So it's probably better for them to just hold Infuse in hand in order to try to maybe force through Infuse later by forcing Herzi to play so many spells in a turn that Herzi doesn't have enough mana to counter all of them. Meanwhile, Herzi is going to end of turn Cane Dancer probably on a bounty, and then play Thunder Roads Augmented, which will copy it 3 times and whack InsertName for 9 damage. And yeah, the bounty token is only a 4/4 right now because Herzi has duplicate lands. I mean, InsertName is on 1 turn clock, except Herzi is holding up an entire hand of counter spells. Man, look at this hand. This is basically Infuse's nightmare, and with all this mana up to cast them. And InsertName does top deck the second Infuse, so they did get a very ideal draw, but unfortunately Herzi's draw was just better here. Their first Infuse get countered, play their second Infuse, get it countered, and InsertName just concedes. So now this match is going to be decided in game 3. I think InsertName is rethinking their sideboard right now. It's all down to game 3. Will InsertName go undefeated with their broken combo deck, or will Herzi with their counterspell heavy deck be able to stop the rampage. So InsertName gets a hand with 2 lands, some cantrips, discard spell, and Rini. So that's basically their ideal hand. So of course they're gonna keep Herzi, has a mulligan, a no land hand, and now they have a hand with some lands and some spells, but no counters. And Herzi decides to keep anyways. They have no plays on turn 1, and they're gonna have to use the Spirit's Grip to dig for counters on turn 2. At least I guess Herzi just needs to hope to draw into counters. So InsertName, meanwhile, I'm assuming they're on the play. So they're gonna play Channeling Stone. I'm assuming they're naming sorcery here. And so what cantrip do they lead off with? I'd probably lead off with Monkey Shines because they don't really have any good things to discard off Weed from Chaff right now. But it seems like they are going to lead off with Weed from Chaff, and I'm assuming that's because they just want to get cards into the yard for Rini. And so they find Artie's Invocation. I think they do have a turn 2 Rini coming up, right? So they discard 2 spells. Next turn they play a land, play Artie's Invocation, so that's 4 spells. They play 1 more spell and then they slam Rini. So yeah, they have a turn 2 Rini. And Herzi doesn't look like they have the hand to deal with it. So with that knowledge, so if I was InsertName here, I'd be looking at the turn 2 Rini play and probably discard Flotsam and then probably the Oracle's Vision or the Monkey Shines. There isn't too much of a difference between what you discard here. I guess you probably discard the Oracle's Vision because it might benefit your opponent more than the Monkey Shines. Because with Oracle's Vision, you might accidentally mill a King Dancer target for your opponent. You decide to discard Monkey Shines instead, I guess, because Oracle's Vision does mill more cards. So Herzi is just going to play a land and pass. They don't really have anything. They don't have anything to do this turn. And now InsertName gets to slam their turn 2 Rini. I'm assuming they already they see the play right now, so they're just gonna go for it. They're going to They're not going for turn 2 Rini. I guess they're playing around Cosmic Sinkhole because if they play Artie's Invocation, it gets sinkholed. Then they have no way of casting Rini afterwards. So the problem with going for this play, at least from my point of view, after discarding Monkey Shines, is that, well, from my point of view, they should have discarded Oracle's Vision there because now they're incentivized to play Oracle's Vision, and Oracle's Vision might mill a counter spell for King Dancer. Or Breach Lilies, in fact. So now InsertName is in sort of a bind here because they really don't want to cast Oracle's Vision because that might have milled cards for Herzi. I think they just have to Weed from Chaff here. And that's why I think you should have kept InsertName should have kept Monkey Shines over Oracle's Vision on turn 1. But InsertName is deciding between Oracle's Vision and Weed from Chaff, and I guess they're thinking about whether they want to risk Oracle's Vision milling a counter spell here. I personally wouldn't go for that risk, so yeah, they're just gonna Weed from Chaff. So they probably discard a land plus Oracle's Vision, or no. Well, next turn they're gonna discard Sanctuary, and then I guess think about keeping mana. Okay, they do decide to keep land, which is probably a good decision because now that they have land, they don't have to use Artie's Invocation to cast Rini because Mana Confluence plus the High Prairies both don't have casting restrictions on their mana, so they can just play Mana Confluence, slam down 2 mana Rini, and then Oracle's Vision, and then Herzi has absolutely no answers to that. So InsertName is going to run out their Rini because last turn, because they've already cleared away last turn with Corrupt Knowledge, so they know that Herzi doesn't have any counter spells, or at least didn't have any counter spells in hand. So unless Herzi top decked the counter spell, Rini will resolve, and Herzi sees that happening and just concedes because they have no way of dealing with Rini. So yeah, the Infuse deck claims another victim. Seems like even the counter-heavy deck couldn't beat it. But maybe in game 3, Herzi could have tried to mulligan for a hand with more counter spells. At the same time, though, like single counter spell wouldn't have been able to stop InsertName this game because they had Corrupt Memory. But they needed, they need a counter spell plus either King Dancer or Breach Lilies or 2 counter spells. So yeah, Infuse keeps up its perfect streak.